Welcome back to the Business Leaders of America podcast, where business leaders come to share their advice and journeys to success with existing and emerging leaders of America. Now, here's your host, Dylan Bloyd.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Business Leaders of America podcast. Today, I'm joined by Marnie Schneider, a powerhouse author, entrepreneur, and sports advocate who is carrying a multi-generational NFL legacy into new purpose and driven spaces. Marnie grew up immersed in football with her grandfather, Leonard Tose, the former owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, and her trailblazing mother, Susan Tose Spencer, the first and only female general manager in NFL history. But she's not just honoring their legacy, she's creating her own. Through Gameday in the USA and Football Freddie and Fumble the Dog series, Marnie has pioneered a unique approach to blending education and entertainment for kids, also known as sports edutainment. She is also the president of the women's division in the Global Pro Flag Football League, where she is helping shape the future of the sport. Today, we'll dive into how Marnie's turning her passion for football into platforms like Educate and Uplift, how she's championing visibility and opportunity for women in sports, and how her podcast Journey Through Sports and Life continues to amplify voices and stories that shape the game beyond the field. Marnie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Dylan. I mean, who is this person? I'd like to know her. She sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's you. You're great. No, I'm excited to get
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah. So for the listeners, me and Marnie have gotten to speak before. We worked together a little bit in the Global Pro Flag Football League. So I'm really excited to get to speak with you again and talk to you about, business now. And, I'm excited for the listeners to really see everything that you are doing in the entertainment and education,
And yes,
edutainment. Yes.
exactly. We created our own category because it didn't exist.
Right,
So
right.
in order to be relevant, we were like, okay, well, we know we want kids reading and we know we want kids playing and entertainment, which sports definitely is. And certainly reading can be entertainment too. So we were like, what about sports edutainment as an
Yes.
entirely new category? So,
Yeah.
so far, so good.
I love it. I love it. Well, I did
Thank
want
you.
to start before that because I cannot wait to get into that, but I cannot wait to, or I want to speak first about, the family history a little bit, because your story is deeply rooted in football. Can you share what it was like growing up with your grandfather, Leonard Tose, the legendary Eagles owner, and your mother, Susan Tose Spencer, the first and only female GM in the NFL history? How did their legacy shape who you are today?
So I think that my grandfather, and this is something that I believe, he was able to pass on to me, and I'm doing the same with my kids, and certainly my mom was the same way. It's all about community and
Mm.
about giving back. And I think that the way that when he owned the team and all the own, I think many owners feel the same way. It's really about making sure that the community gets to enjoy being a fan. And I know my grandfather really took that to the you know, 10th degree or whatever that expression is.
Yes.
So much so often my mom would say, to her dad, my grandfather, Dad, you can't buy beers anymore for the fans. They're suing you. So don't do that. But he loved the experience of it and finding ways to make everything so good because he understood that people worked hard all week and all they wanted to do was to enjoy Sunday, go to church maybe, and then go watch some football. And that was really his whole thing was like, how do we make this experience great for everybody and affordable too? I think that now the prices are so high that it is
Man.
hard to go to a game as a family, which I'll get to that. That's kind of why we created Football Freddie and Fumble the Dog as an alternative in some ways to
Yes.
being at the actual game. Although I would say this, that getting an opportunity to go to an NFL game and be there and cheer for your team or cheer for the players that you like and being in that environment, there's nothing more fun.
Right. No, I could not agree with you more. I mean, he did amazing things. Both of them did, and so I,
Yeah. Yeah, they did. And my mom, to talk about my mom, she definitely was somebody that at the time, nobody, no one said no. So it was kind of like she was definitely the right person for the job. And my grandfather was, I think, very brave in many ways, where he was always trying to put people in positions that he knew that they could handle. It didn't really matter what their color was or their race or their gender. It was really just a matter of, are they capable? Do they have the goods? And that's kind of a family expression. It's like, do you
mm.
have the goods? If you have the goods, you can do it. If you don't have the goods, go get them. But
Yes.
that was really how it was. And so I think my grandfather knew that my mom was somebody that A, was loyal to him and could get the job done, but also was able to add value and to improve the bottom line. Because as your listeners know, and in any business, if you're not improving the bottom line, you're not relevant.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. It's always about the bottom line. And you could be the greatest person and look great and talk great, but if you're not adding value by improving the bottom line, you're probably not going to
Uh,
stay around that long.
Oh, you're spot on with that. So your grandfather didn't receive much pushback when he first put her in that position? Because I know we
Oh, no.
spoke, she dealt with some pushback, right, in the media a little bit. So did he
Yeah.
not deal with pushback?
I think he did. I mean, they referred to my mother at the time the Eagles were playing at Veterans Stadium. They referred to her as the Wicked Witch of the Vet, which was the short for Veterans Stadium. And my mom, if
Really?
you knew my mom and you knew what she looked like, she was definitely not a wicked witch. She was,
No.
absolutely stunning. I mean,
Yes.
men would, stare. I mean, they would, she's beautiful.
Rubbernecks.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, a smoke show would be the modern day term.
Yes.
And, smart, had a law degree, had many different business degrees, was incredibly talented, both on and off the field, as far as, making sure that they were improving the bottom line. And she was really the first person, and many articles will say this, where she took a business that was kind of a hobby, which often NFL teams at the time were, and turned them into a real business. She made the decision to go from AM radio to FM radio,
Wow.
major things that were at the time nobody was doing that. And now that's how teams are really run,
Yeah.
like the way that my mom executed and implemented different things into the team. And that's how most of the teams are run today. She took a blueprint and really made it into how they do things.
Right, right. No, she was definitely a true trailblazer. So with both your grandfather and your mother leaving such bold marks on the NFL, what values or philosophies have you brought into your own ventures that reflect their influence, but with your own twist?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I was certainly able to travel around and see all these great cities and make a lot of friends and learning what it is to be a friend. And I also am very fortunate that I never was interested in drugs or
Yeah.
drinking. And I think that that was something, and I still like, I'm kind of amazed in some ways, because definitely they were available and I had a lot of free time and cash in my pocket. I
Yeah.
just never wanted to disappoint my mom or my grandfather. And so, or my friends and my friends' parents, who were so important to me, because when you're an only child with a single working mother, you spend a lot of time at your friends' homes. And I never wanted, because my mom was away a lot and I didn't travel all the time. I mean, I did go on the road often, but so I didn't want to disappoint any people that had really invested in me. And so I think that that's something that my mom, I know, was, proud of the fact that I was always a pretty good kid.
Hmm.
And also, I think that for me, it's something that I'm now looking at my history, and now as a mom with three kids, it's really important that they kind of pick up the ball and continue the family legacy in ways where we're doing good things in the community and we're not drinking and we're not getting into trouble and making good choices. And trying to be very healthy about our mind, body, and spirit. Those are things that I think, I'm fortunate. Those were really big gifts in my life. Certainly there was amazing lessons learned, but I think being able to respect myself, that was and like myself, those were great things that my family put into me.
Right. No, that's amazing because you do see that in some of the children who are involved with, those families that are involved in the NFL or any sports, right? And the media is constantly on them, especially today. Cameras are always on you. So even back then, though, I feel like it still was difficult, I'm sure, because you make one wrong move and it's blasted all over the media, right? So I'm sure your parents, or your mom and your grandfather were very proud of you, and it's amazing to see. And then obviously, like you just said, you're helping instill that in your children as well, and they're doing a great job as well.
Well, the motto. So growing up, the school that I went to, there was a motto of the school, and it's Latin.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you the translation, but the Latin version is esse quam quam videri.
Hmm.
And the translation is be rather than seem to be. And I think that, like, that was something that was so important. We heard that all the time. It was on all of our textbooks, and everywhere we turned, there were big plaques, be rather than seem to be. And so I think that those are things that when you're fortunate enough to be around people that are leaders and that are doing big things, like Coach Vermeil would say, to do big things, you got to do big things.
Yeah.
It definitely leaves you wanting to do those things, and trying to be rather than seem to be is something that I've always really, liked that motto. It's actually the motto of the state of North Carolina as well. So it's something obviously that to me, trying to be rather than seem to be was always an important task. And hopefully I'm doing that, which means that you're just doing good actions and not being a phony. Because like
Right.
no one wants a phony. That's
Right.
annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I think anybody who follows you knows that you are very true to yourself and everything that you're doing, right? So I'm excited to get into this. So because you're pioneering, like you said, you're pioneering a unique space that blends education and entertainment for kids through sports. How did that concept evolve into what's now sports edutainment? Even though I know you talked a little bit about it, but I want you to go deeper into it if you could.
So, my mom was a teacher before running the Eagles and being a lawyer. She was a teacher. So I think that reading and writing were always a huge part of my daily routine. And back in the dark ages, there was no, iPods or iPhones or
Yeah.
iPads. It was a Sony Walkman. And if you ran out of batteries, then, or your headphones were broken, you were done. So
Yeah.
on many long plane rides back, to Philadelphia from wherever, my mom would hand me a legal pad and say, like, start writing. And so that was really how the first original version of Football Freddie started, on a long plane ride back from California back to Philadelphia.
Hmm.
And so, I would write when I would go travel, and I'd have to kind of keep a diary. And oftentimes my teachers would say, if you're going to be missing class, write a book report on wherever you are. If you're at the San Diego Zoo, write about that. And
Yeah.
so that was something fun for me that I got to do and see all these cool places. So about 8 years ago, my mom told me that, and we could tell that there was some cognitive decline. We really weren't sure what was going on,
Mm.
but she said, I think it's time to take out all those stories that you wrote when you were a young girl. I'm like, those are ridiculous. I'm not doing that. And but there were some things in there that were interesting enough to go to a publisher and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he was like, well, I like it. I think that it's awful what you wrote, but I think that there's some things that we could work with. And
Hmm.
so in 2017, 18, my first book, Football Freddie and Fumble the dog, Fumble really is my dog,
Yeah.
Game Day came out, and it travels around with Freddie, who's based off me, and Fumble, and another character named Billy, and they travel all throughout Philadelphia as they make their way to the stadium. Hold on, here it is, I think. Hold on. As they make their way to the stadium to cheer on the home team.
Yes.
And so it was just a way for me to talk about the places in Philadelphia that I, grew up loving, whether it's going to the Liberty Bell, going to the Betsy Ross house, things like that. And then, of course, going to the stadium to cheer on the home team.
Hmm.
And so the first book came out, and it did really well. It was kind of like a little hobby. It still is a hobby, but now it's actually a business. But
Yeah.
people really responded to it. Kids liked it. I was, interviewed by Angelo Cataldi, who at the time was like the #1 sports radio guy in Philadelphia. And he's like, I love this book. It's a book for all ages. And
Yeah.
people really took to it because they could relate to being there. If they couldn't be there, they could feel like they were there by experiencing Philadelphia and all the places in Philadelphia. So another cool thing happened in 2017, 18, right when the book came out. The team kept winning, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So sold a lot of books, and then said, all right, well, let's do it again. Let's do another city, and let's see how that goes. Because in Philadelphia, I kind of feel like I have a little bit of an advantage. I don't live there anymore, but certainly grew up there and have a name there. So then we did Game Day in the Carolinas, and that did really well, and people liked it. There was an appetite for fans getting excited about talking about their team, but at
Yeah.
the same time, celebrating the places that they remembered going to when they were younger. So in Game Day, and so then we just kept going. Game Day in Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
Freddie travels around with Hugh, and Hugh is a real person. He's my college roommate's son. And what makes this book extra special is that Hugh is the best tour guide for the city of Pittsburgh, but Hugh is also autistic. So we were able to highlight and talk about things that were important to me. I mean, Stacy's an incredible advocate for autism, and we use it as a way to gently share the fact that you can have friends that are autistic, or you can have a friend that is in a wheelchair, like Game Day in Atlanta. You can have a friend that wears glasses. So, you can have a friend that has a peanut allergy. So these are just different things that my friends' children or my own kids experience. And I wanted to be able to acknowledge that in a gentle way without it being, gratuitous. And not every book has something going on, but there's things that happen, and we just talk about that in each book. And so far, it's been well received.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've gotten to read a couple because you sent them our way, and I have daughters, who absolutely love them. I haven't even gotten to give you that feedback yet, but they truly love them. They just finished the Dallas one, and I believe you said the next one coming out is San Francisco. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, Game
Yes.
Day in San Francisco. So I'm really excited about that. And what's really fun about that book is that, we always have two characters in the book. We always have, or sometimes even, like people show up but like, so this is, Freddie and Hugh and Fumble. In Game Day in San Francisco, Freddie has two of her friends joining her. So she has Tommy, who's a girl, young girl, and Kat. So it's very Kitty is her name in the book. So
Yeah.
it's lots of fun, and we've been able to, the past couple books, I've teamed up with wives of professional football players. So, for example, in Game Day in Denver, Letha Atwater, Steve Atwater, Hall of Famer, is his wife Letha is my co-author, and so it's Freddie and Lee traveling around. And Game Day in Kansas City, Julie Green and her husband Trent as a quarterback at the Chiefs, and before that the Rams. And so Julie is my co-author for for Kansas City, and now coming up for San Francisco, Tommy Vincent, whose husband Troy played in the NFL and works for the National Football League, and Kat Waters, her husband Ricky, played for the Eagles and the 49ers. So Kat and Tommy are my co-authors for Game Day
Awesome.
in San Francisco. So it's lots of fun. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
really excited about it.
So you wrote the one in Philadelphia, and they ended up winning that year, right? So
They
I'm praying. I'm a Niners fan. You wrote the Niners one, so I'm hoping San Francisco, this is the year.
It
And then
happened,
you'll have,
I mean, we've had it's so funny because it's like, with a few exceptions, all of the teams that I've written books about, they've at least made it to the playoffs, if
yes,
not won it all. I mean, Kansas City, I mean,
yes,
Denver made it to the playoffs. The Steelers have always been in the playoffs.
hmm
Let's see, of course, Philadelphia,
yes,
Green Bay always in the hunt, Denver. So we'll see about San Francisco. Chicago's, treading water. They're trying to make it. I think that they have a good shot. But Tampa Bay is another one. So it's like
yeah,
yeah, so we'll see. But San Francisco, they're a great team, and
yeah.
I like the 49ers. So
Yes.
it'll be
That
fun for
is,
them.
I
I'll
cannot
have a
wait for
good
that
time
one to come
there.
out. I know my daughters are as well. I've taken them to a couple 49er games, and they love it. So I think that them already having the history of that, and then getting the past of the experience of getting to see the 49ers games, and then having the history of it, they're gonna love it. And the things that they get to do around the city, they've gotten to experience that firsthand. So I think it's gonna be even that much more special for them. So I'm really excited for that. But that being said, I mean, that's what I love about that, is because there can be kids who are just wanting to read children's books, and they might not be involved in sports, and then so they get to see both sides of it, the town, what they do there, and then they get to travel and go to the games, and it really is the build up all the way till the game, right? Not to give too much away from the book, but it's amazing that that's how it's written, because I think that's going to drive a lot of kids towards sports, and at the same time get a more education on the cities, right?
Well, so I really think sports really is the universal language. So the plan is with Game Day is to obviously continue to build out Football Freddie and Fumble the Dog and travel to all the stadiums and see all the cities. And at the same time, we're just about to start working on Baseball Billy and Bunt the Dog. Same idea with baseball. And eventually we'll get to motorsports. I mean, we live in the Carolinas, so NASCAR is huge here. So
Yeah.
definitely, race day in Talladega, race day at Daytona. I I mean, there's so many fans that love racing and motorsports that we're excited to put those characters together and build that brand, that part of the franchise up as well. So eventually we'll get to all the sports, whether it's like I said, we're going to baseball next, but then it'll be golf and tennis and racing and soccer, and then
Yes.
eventually going international and doing all the game day at Manchester United and game day, wherever all the other teams. So we're
Yeah.
super excited about that.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. And it's is so exciting for the readers, the kids who get to read this. When they go to a game, they get to be like, let's go check this out before we go to the game. They want to follow the trail that you kind of put together in the book. And so I think that's really, really cool, Marnie.
Well, thank you. I mean, getting a chance to explore the city and see what's going on in it and learn about the history of it. I love history. My mom was an English and history teacher. So
Yeah.
for me, history is so important. And then also I think it brings people together. So it can bring a dad reading to his daughter or boys. I mean, boys like my books too, because Fumble the dog is fun. And we have boy characters in our books as well. And plus the age range, kids don't really care whether the main characters are boys or girls. But I definitely think that adults love to read our books to children because it's fun and they can either remember going to those places or get excited about going to those places and kind of use it as a overall roadmap of places that they've been or want to go to.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Well, I cannot wait to see that all come to fruition, especially with the new cities and new sports. So is baseball next? That's next in line
Yeah,
for sure.
so we're working right now with Major League Baseball. They are very excited about what we've done. They see us being able to add value again, like to add value to their brand and also to work with them for the softball side of it as well, which
Wow.
they are now really investing in building up their softball league. And I love that idea too. So we're working to develop baseball billion, but not just for MLB, but also for it's called the American United Softball League. I think it's AUSL. So
Right.
working with them to do that, and there's amazing. I love lady softball. It's so fun to watch, and
Man.
we'll get to we'll kind of dip our toe in the water there a little bit, and I think that will be great and lots of fun. And then we'll definitely move on to basketball next. Certainly, the WNBA is a place that we really want to dedicate some time to, as well as the NBA. And I grew up in Philadelphia going to Sixers games with Dr. J. So, I
Yes.
mean, I love basketball. And again, I think that when sports bring us together, it doesn't really matter. You might not like that team, but you might say, I like that player. And so it's just a really great way for everybody to come together and celebrate and cheer. And there's really nothing more fun than being a fan. And,
Hmm.
where else can you go where you can yell, kick, scream, cheer, and not be let off in handcuffs,
Yes. Yes.
game or
Exactly.
watching the game or something. Yeah.
Right. Right. So what are you doing, or what are the plans, I guess, for getting this into the education system?
Well, so we're currently approved curriculum in certain school districts. I am, trying very diligently to work with the current administration and find ways to get our books into the local school systems, which we already are because we've been approved, like I said, in certain places, Dallas, Fort Worth, Charlotte, Mecklenburg,
Yeah.
Iredell County, certain counties. So just finding a way to get books to kids. I mean, some kids, some communities we're at terrible reading levels in many states. It's awful. And so really working with local communities to get kids excited about reading and just getting them books. I've donated thousands of books. I will continue to do so, but obviously working with partners to want to purchase books and give them out is something that we're looking into. And we've had some great response recently where big companies see the value in buying books and then handing them out to local schools or to individual families and communities. Some kids don't even have a book at home. So giving them a Football Freddie book is something that, again, companies find value in that because they see that getting kids excited about reading is something that no one will ever say that's a bad idea.
No.
So, yeah.
No, I cannot agree more. I mean, everything about the book is so perfect because, it's challenging for the kids to read. It's not something that's overly challenging, but the illustrations, everything a part of it is just so captivating. I feel like it was funny because the other night my oldest asked if she could read it to her younger sisters, and so she was like, they didn't want to go to bed. We told them we're not watching TV, and she's like, "Can I read, Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog?" And I'm like, That's fine. You know what? I'll accept that one. And
Well, thank you. I
yes,
appreciate that.
yes,
That I hear that a lot, and I still am like, that, and I believe it because
yes,
I know that what we've created is certainly very detail oriented and filled with love, but also because it tells a good story and kids
yeah,
can get excited about the things that they can either do in that city or learning about it. Kids want to learn, they
they
want
do.
to learn. And our books are definitely educational, but we like to say it's kind of like a brownie baked with applesauce instead of lots of
Yes.
sugar.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always know when my daughter likes the books though, because the next morning, if she does read them to her sister, she tells me all about it. She gives me
Oh,
a
good.
complete rundown, and that's exactly what she did. And she, like I said, she read the Dallas one, and she was giving me the complete breakdown the next morning, and I was like, all right, easy. They're still a Dallas Cowboys. You can't like them.
I know my Philadelphia
Rivalry.
friends are like, I don't get it. How did you do that? I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
a football fan, okay? Well, I mean, I do love Philadelphia, don't get me
Yes.
wrong, but I have had to take a much more neutral approach over the past 8 years. So I am a football fan, but of course, I love Philadelphia.
Love
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Yes, absolutely. No, well, thank you so much for touching on that, Marnie. I really do appreciate it. I did want to shift gears real quick because I want to talk about the Global Pro Flag Football League now. They just rebranded, right? So you are the
Yes.
president of the women's division. So how are you helping build something that's going to last and ensuring that values like pay equality and visibility for women stay at the heart of it? Because that is some very big topics in sports, especially. But this is a big part of what this league is doing.
My feeling about this, yes, and I love flag football and I love obviously everything about football. So flag football is a great sport. And I think that it really has, I mean, the growth has been incredible and it's going to be in the Olympics and they have, it's really, my kids have played it. I played it.
Yeah.
For women, my answer to that is similar to if you're looking at homes, okay, and your realtor says like, here's this house is this price, and then you ask for the comps, the comparables of the community. Well, the house might be on the lakeside, so it's going to be 3 times as much as the house across from the lake, but it's still in the same area. So you have to just kind of figure out what it's worth. And so for women, they're not at the level of eyeballs as
Yeah.
men certainly are, and they might not ever be,
Right.
but I think that we have to try to figure out a way where the pay and where everybody feels comfortable. And again, it's a delicate balance like everything in life, but compensation does um it does matter, and
Hmm.
getting the women compensated to a place where they feel like they matter is something that's really important. And at the same time, we want the fans to enjoy the game. We want it to be about the game, not about the paychecks. We really want it to be about the level of play. And I like to reward people for what they're doing. And that might be sometimes overpaying people in some
Hmm.
ways. And I don't really view it as that, but other
Right.
people might. But I think that paying people for what they're doing is a luxury to get to do. So let's do it.
Yeah. Last I read was that this is the fastest growing sport for women. And I know I've been enjoying watching the women on ESPN right now, the girls, the 14U, the 18U. I cannot believe the talent level already of these girls because a lot of girls want to play football. My daughter, that's one of the sports she literally talks about all the time. And she plays on my nephew's team once in a while, and that is one of her top three sports is flag football. And now there's an opportunity for the future of that, right? It's becoming a
Yeah.
college sport. It's becoming a pro sport. I mean, that is amazing. And like I said, I believe it is the fastest growing women's sport right now.
It is, and I think that it's a great sport, and I'm very excited about it. And seeing what we can put together will be lots of fun. I think I'm a great brand representative because my
Yes.
mom and my grandfather were involved in professional sports, but also knowing that I have a daughter, I want her to. If she was younger and she just graduated college, I would have definitely encouraged her to play, flag football in school.
Yeah.
But certainly, I have lots of friends who were college athletes, and I think that being a college athlete is something so amazing as well. And so I'm excited to have girls get the opportunity to play flag football in college. It'll be something that we'll all get excited about for sure.
Right. Yeah, I had a PE teacher who said she played rugby and flag football in college, and this was, a while back. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool, but you never see it past college. Even softball, like we just talked about, there is the pro level, but it's like you see a lot of the college level is where it's really put on display. And then after that, it kind of trickles off for women. So I'm really excited for flag football, and I hope this league takes off. And I think the people that are behind it, including yourself, some incredible minds, Marjorie, Jay, all these guys are going to really help take this thing off.
Yes, well, thank you. I believe so, but it really is always about the fans. And,
Yeah.
we have to figure out how to get the fans excited about it. And that's really what it all comes down to is that the fans matter. The fans matter in every sport, whether in motorsports, whether you're in football, baseball, basketball, it's all about the fans. So giving the fans a great experience. And I believe that certainly because I've written children's books about certain, football as well. So, and in every football Freddie book, almost Freddie plays flag football. She started that in the first book, which came out in 2017, 18. So I
Mm,
feel like we were well ahead of the curve
yeah.
with flag football, but now we're really kind of in the middle of it. So it's lots of fun to talk about it as well.
Yes, absolutely. When you hit those certain cities where the flag football from the Global Pro Flag Football League have teams, you could even include those in, right? Because it's going to be, hitting the city. And they're, last I checked, I think it's still the plan, but Jay was mentioning that it's going, the founder of the Global Pro Flag Football League mentioned that it's going to be in all of the major cities where the NFL teams are as well, right? So anytime you hit some of those places, you could always include the flag team as well.
That's right. And for there's so much great talent out there. Certainly on the women's side, there's tons of great talent, but even of course, on the men's side, I mean, that many people play college football and then they can't make it to the NFL. And it's
Yes.
only by like one little breath of 1 millisecond that they're not fast enough or big enough or whatever. So there's a lot of room for them to then get an opportunity to play flag football, and the quality of the athlete and the athleticism of both the men and women is there. So it's exciting. And I think that that's what baseball wants to do. They want the
Yeah.
athleticism. They're trying to get that. They don't know how to kind of redo that, but like the athleticism of these guys is what we really enjoy watching on the field or on the court. So that's what we're really definitely digging into to find the amazing athletes on the female and male side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It gives them another avenue because when you look at the percentages from high school, everyone plays high school football, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even girls have a chance to play high school. Some very little, but little percentage, but some get to play or in the college, and then the percentage drops off even from there, from the to like a 0.01% making it to the NFL, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
it is a very, very slim chance of making it that far. So the fact that this gives them another avenue of potential to give them a career out of it as well and make a living off of it is amazing.
It is, and and ultimately, back in the old days, football players had to work two jobs. They worked
Yes.
during the season, and then they would, work their summer jobs. And obviously, they don't do that anymore. But we want to make sure that people are compensated. Again, paying people for their time and their effort and their discipline and their hard work is a luxury and is fun to do. I think that it's exciting to be able to pay people what they're worth,
You're
and
right.
maybe a little more.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you again for touching on that. I hope all the listeners get a chance to check it out, and see the updates that are coming up. I know they have a tournament coming up soon of next year, early next year, and so hopefully you guys can really follow along and see the exciting Global Pro Flag Football League in the future. So, Marnie, I wanted to talk about your podcast a little bit, from, your podcast journey through sports and life to the game on X's and O's for Life channel. How have these platforms shaped your perspective on leadership, storytelling, and sports culture?
So, Journey Through Sports and Life, I get to do that podcast with two legends in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Scott Murray, who was the sports reporter in DFW for 30 something years. I mean, Scott is, I mean, forget the fact that he's an incredibly kind man and so great. And I often like say, "Oh, Scott, if you were the sports reporter in Philadelphia when my grandfather on the team, things would have been so much better." Like
Right.
the Philadelphia people were so rough on my grandfather and my mom. So Scott takes a different approach as a journalist, and he's just a kind person who really wants to get the real story out there and really highlight who you are. And so I've learned a tremendous amount from him, and his stories are incredible, and he's interviewed everybody and he's friends with everybody. I mean, you
Right.
mentioned anybody in that DFW Metroplex or even beyond, and they know Scott. They love Scott. I mean, walking through the Super Bowl Convention Center with Scott, which I've done now the past 3 years because we've been doing our show
Yeah.
at Super Bowl, it takes an extra hour because he is like being with a rock star. People are like, Scott Murray? Is that Scott Murray? Scott Murray. Oh my gosh. My dad would watch it, my mom would watch it. We love Scott Murray. Take a picture. So I'm like, I kind of joke that I'm his PR person when I'm in
Right.
the Super Bowl city with him. So he's amazing. And Marjorie Lewis, she was the first female sports reporter in DFW. She was the first reporter to go, even though she really didn't want to, but go into the Cowboys locker room as a woman. So in 1986, Tom Landry said, all right, guys, women are here. So put your towels on. Like, this is
Hmm.
what it is now. And Marjorie's incredible. And we work together, and Scott also, on the Global Flag Pro Football League. So they've taught me so much about quite just interactive journalism, which is what they both do. And so it's a real treat to get to be with them and doing our show. I kind of feel like I'm just like the third wheel, which I'm fine about because they're so good. I'm like, I have nothing. Just you guys.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. It's fine. I just want to listen to you two. That's really what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So that's been great. And then I get to do a fun show with my friend Katie. And, we talk about, it's game on, X's and O's, just about life and the playbook for life and being a woman and being involved in things and being a mom and what that is about. And I'm excited. I'm actually just about to start one more podcast called Bench to Bold, which will be a weekly show. And my co-host is this great woman. She's a great big influencer, Elisa Hood.
Oh.
And so we're really talking about people's moments when they've been benched and then how do they make it to being bold
Mhm.
and living a bold life and what that means. We've all been benched, all of us. And so how do you take that and not suck your thumb, but how do you take that and then get back on the field of life? And so we're really excited about Bench to Bold and sharing people's stories, their comeback stories, and what that looks like to them and how we can learn, from watching them, take their life and turn it around.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you learn from your failures, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing is that a lot of not necessarily always failures, but really, like you said, you get benched and someone maybe take over for you. And so, how did you work hard to get to that next level? I cannot wait to hear some of those stories that you guys are and you're gonna be able to produce. And oh man, I'm excited for that, Marnie.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
me
some of the
too. I mean, a great example of that is Jalen Hurts. I mean, look at Jalen
yes.
Hurts. Jalen Hurts was benched. He was
Mhm.
benched, and then he left the school and had to figure it out and went on his own journey and ended up at Oklahoma, and then ended up the second round draft pick, and then ended up being Super Bowl champ, MVP. I mean, come
Yes.
on, like
Yes.
that is kind of the model of what we're really using Jalen as an example of what being benched is all about. He didn't, take it personally. He worked harder and built more and got just kept going
Yeah.
and kept on playing and converting over and over again. And, we all love Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
He's taking the main thing. That's what he
Yes,
did.
exactly. And they even considered him moving to receiver, right? And
Yeah,
then he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm a quarterback. And look at him. He proved it, right?
he did.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
continues to prove it time and time again. I mean, you look at Michael Jordan, but then you also look at the business side of it and Oprah Winfrey and Walt Disney and all these people, these greats who struggled with that and they were benched, they were fired, they were let go, or they were told no. And then and they didn't take no for an answer. They ended up getting to where they needed to get to because of hard work and dedication, right?
Yeah, I mean, and again, and the thing is with really good leaders, it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when.
Yes.
And that's really what it comes down to. So, and when the when happens, you have to be prepared. My grandfather would always say, if you're not prepared, don't show up.
Mm.
So it's kind of like you just got to keep your foot on the gas, keep believing in yourself, surround yourself with great people, be disciplined, do the easy things that are easy, getting up, doing all that stuff, taking all the distraction out of your life too. And then ultimately, when the time is right, you'll be ready.
Yes. I think Kobe said something similar. Kobe Bryant said something similar about, he was never nervous and he had that killer instinct because he always prepared. If he was nervous, he underprepared.
Yep. I mean, it's just how it goes. We all know that like when we're not ready for things, it's not because we're not ready. It's because we
Right.
probably haven't done the homework. And my mom would always say something like, just do the homework. If you do your
Yeah.
homework, then you might still make mistakes. There's still going to be mistakes. Like it's
Yes.
not going to necessarily be 100, however, there will be less mistakes and easier to correct. And that's really what it comes down to.
Nope, you're absolutely right. Well, that is exciting. I cannot wait for that to come out. Well,
Thank
Marnie,
you.
this has been amazing. Such a great conversation. Where can people follow your work, connect with you, and bring Football Freddie and Fumble to their school, league, or community?
So they can follow me on Instagram, Marnie Schneider one. They can follow me on Facebook, Marnie Schneider. Same thing with LinkedIn. They can go to marnieschneider.com and get the books, learn about what we're doing, where we're going, find some fun stuff there. Lots of blogs, lots of family history, things like that. The books are available on Amazon, so you can go to Amazon and get them. The only book that's not available on Amazon is this book that I did with the Hall of Fame. And that is because it's available only at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But so if you go to profootballhalloffame.com and type in Football Freddie, because this was something special that I got to do with them a couple years ago. And while it's not a one football city, it's 32. So you get to travel around and see all the great sites in Canton, Ohio. I love Canton. I'm excited to go back there in a few weeks for the Hall of Fame. And then
Yes.
you get to be, you get to really enjoy some of the things that you might not get to see. For example, the Gold Jacket Dinner, which is incredible, and then enshrinement. So lots of fun stuff in Canton, Ohio. And so go to the Hall of Fame to get that book. And there's lots of cool stuff there too. But otherwise,
Amazing.
Amazon.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure a lot of those are in the show notes. And thank you so much for touching on that. Marnie, I do have one more question before we go. As someone who's carried a multi-generational legacy while building something new, what advice would you give to business leaders looking to carve their own path without losing sight of where they came from?
So I think that to be grateful. I mean, I wake up every day and I have a consistent routine. I wake up early. I've got, dogs and things like that. So they want to go out. So I think that I write in my gratitude journal every morning,
Mm,
listening to the birds. It's something that really it's my version of meditation.
yeah.
And I think so being grateful every time somebody asks me to help them, I would say this that like it always ends up helping me. So just remember that if someone says, "Can you write a reference letter?" I mean, I'm like, I usually say write the letter and I'll send it because I don't necessarily, although now with ChatGPT, I probably could write
Right.
it, but
Yeah.
I'm like, just write the letter, I'll send it. So I think that like just remembering, what it takes to be a good person. And I think that like again, when people ask me to help them, I'm always the one that ends up benefiting, always.
Yes.
You know, that those are just little things. And I think that just remembering that good healthy patterns are repeat themselves. So you just got to keep going and going. And even if it seems a little monotonous, that's okay because you have a goal and sometimes the goals might change while the game plan might change a little bit, but that's okay too. Just keep moving forward.
Right. And being bold enough to reach out, right? Because I think people get really nervous about reaching out. And I think that they're worried that they're going to say no. And so there are people out there like Marnie who are willing to help. You just have to ask, right?
Yeah. I like to help. I love to help people. I mean, that's really what I mean, like we're here to help people. I mean, that's the root of why we're here without getting, too deep is that we're
Yes,
supposed to help people.
you're right. Absolutely. Well, again, Marnie, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining me and the listeners today.
Oh, well, thank you for having us, right? Fumble says thank you.
See
You
you later,
know,
Fumble.
exactly. It's dinner, it's chow time now.
It
All
is.
right. Bye, Dylan. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.